All right, Harry. So, as a Christian, where do I go to get my instruction? The Old Testament or the New Testament?
Yeah, it's a good question because a lot of people bring old kind of a blend of the two. But Jesus, in the last paragraph of Matthew, he says, the Father has given me all authority in heaven and on earth. And he goes on to say that, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And then he says, go and teach these new converts or disciples to obey all my commands
Perfect.
and my teachings. So what we really deal with is that there are quite a few of the commands from the Old Testament that Jesus has reintroduced in the New. As a matter of fact, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, the Sermon on the Mount, he gives kind of an update on them. For example, the things like
Adultery, for example.
adultery and killing and so on, those kind of things, that there's a new version, a new level of expectation. And so he revises them. Actually, in the Old Testament, God told his people to kill their enemies, whereas Jesus tells us to love our enemies and pray for them. There's quite an update there. So the long and the short of it is that I believe that we take zero commands or teachings from the Old Testament except for the ones that Jesus has reintroduced in the New Testament. So in a way, we read the Old Testament to get our history, to get encouragement from how God works with his people all throughout history. There's a lot of beautiful stories there, but there is no real instruction. We don't follow the Mosaic law. To love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. That's in Moses' teaching, but it's also Jesus' teaching. So it's just reintroduced. So all the teachings that we need in our life today is from the New Testament. And I would really encourage people, if they're fairly new to the faith, to spend all their time in the New Testament, but particularly in the Gospels, the teachings of Jesus, because ultimately the four Gospels, in my mind, are the instruction that we have for our life. Then I would also encourage people to read Acts, which is construction, the early church, which teaches us to how they used Jesus' teaching to grow the faith. The
Hmm.
letters, to me, are repair and maintenance, is where there's troubles in the church, and Paul and others, they go through the details of what we have, the problems that we have, and how we deal with them. The very good teaching, but it's not primary instruction. It's doing, how do we solve this problem? How do we solve that problem? They're kind of time and place oriented. Ultimately, we also finish with the book of Revelation, which is a good book to tell us that it all ends well for those that are his. So it's an encouraging book to know that his people things will prosper for them. So the focus really needs to be for those things first. Then as we get to be a mature Christian, we should certainly go back and read the Old Testament, see how God worked with everybody. But even as a Christian, there's one exception here. The first 10 chapters of Genesis, I really encourage people to read those, regardless if you're new or old to the faith, because it tells us where the problem came from. Because Jesus is the answer to the problem, but what is the problem? The problem is sin. Well, where did we get sin? And so the first 10 chapters of Genesis gives us kind of an update as to how God dealt with sin early, how sin started, how he dealt with it, the flood, and all those problems, and then he had a covenant with after that with Abram, and then the rest of it comes from there. So the point is that the Old Testament is very relevant, is where we came from, but we need to understand the first few chapters of the Old Testament: creation, at Garden
Hmm.
of Eden, sin, and all those things.
And then that also explains to us why we have these new teachings from Jesus, right? These new commands from Jesus, the whole laid up to the Messiah, the one who's coming to redeem the people. And as well, what we're going to do is we're going to leave a link below in the description box if you guys want to know the roughly 150 teachings of Jesus. They are new commands for everybody so that you guys can go over them yourself and see what Jesus's teachings has brought to the table.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Harry.